The people who got punished, did they believe in God?
Do you mean I don't think they believe in God, and they say they trusted God and they worshipped God.
I'm not talking about the son or the daughter or the brother or the uncle. I'm talking about two concepts of God. Destroy them who doesn't believe in him. What happened to Sodom and Gomorrah for their sin?
But that
it turned upside down.
That was not big. That was over something different. That was over an unnatural practice.
No, did he punish them?
But it wasn't over. It wasn't over.
But this is a greater one.
But it wasn't over. No, hold on. God does not necessarily. Look, ancient Egypt were polytheists all throughout Israel's history. God did not destroy ancient Egypt. Sodom and Gomorrah was a limited incident over a certain type of wickedness they were doing. It's not over.
Why did God punish them totally upside down? Upside down, right?
It was not over their belief in God.
Wait. Is this practice of theirs, sodomy, greater than disbelief in God?
Yes, but I would tell.
How? How is, one second, how is sexual practice of sodomy a greater sin?
I didn't say that.
Let me ask you then again.
Yeah.
How is sexual practice of sodomy, homosexual practice, a sin compared to disbelief in the Creator? Is it greater? Is it same? Is it less?
First of all, you have to acknowledge Sodom and Gomorrah was not just about homosexuality. It was also about forced homosexuality as well. Second, and you have to acknowledge our God is a God who gives man free will. You can believe in God, you can disbelieve in God. Hence, why God did not destroy ancient Egypt.
What happened to Sodom and Gomorrah?
Well, that was over forcing their sin onto others. It wasn't just because of sin. It was because they were forcing that sin onto others. The ancient Egyptians, by and large, did not force the ancient Israelites to become part of their religion. Hence,
we'll come to that point.
Hence, God did not destroy ancient Egypt, but He destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Yes, even though, yes, true, the sexual sin is a less of a crime in the eyes of God than sins against God, but that's for God to judge on the day of judgment. You see, what God will punish on the day of judgment is not necessarily what He would punish.
So He didn't punish them for.
That's the final judgment. That's the final. Look, you have an implicit bias to think earthly punishments are the final punishment.
So what was it for? Clarify again.
Whereas with our belief, God's final punishments are in the afterlife. They're not a part of.
Yes, but they were punished. So the brother is asking now, the people of Noah.
Yes.
What were they punished for?
They were punished for wickedness, but if you look at
what kind of wickedness?
Well, I don't think it goes into detail.
It's important to know. If God punishes,
could you just finish the question?
Before you answer. Before you answer, can I clarify the question?
But if you interrupt me, I'll be at liberty to interrupt.
Would you be able to understand what we're trying to ask?
I understand the question.
Okay, so the question is, very briefly, God punished the people of Noah.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
What you need to clarify to us, the earthly punishment in terms of their destruction of life, total annihilation from existence. For what crime deserve this kind of punishment?
The Bible does not go into details, but God will not do that again, because if you look at the end of that story, God made a covenant not to destroy the whole world again. So
that's not my question. Question is?
That was the point of that. I know that's the point of it.
The point is not whether God do it again or not. He did it first time. It's important to understand what was the nature of that crime, so heinous, so grievous, so magnanimous, that God destroyed them from existence.
I don't.
So you don't even know.
I'm not going to speak with the.
No problem. So do you wish to know what that might be?
Well, I don't think you. If within the Bible we don't have a clear specific list of all the sins they were doing to destroy punishment, I don't see how you would know either.
Okay. When somebody commits a murder, what was the punishment by God?
What is murder? I mean, not murder. Sorry, execution.
Yeah, taking their life in return as a form of justice punishment.
Yeah.
So you can see certain crimes can have this kind of repercussions of justice from God.
But it's not this, but I would say. I would say that does not necessitate God destroyed the people of Noah for murder.
The people who got punished, did they believe in God?
Do you mean I don't think they believe in God, and they say they trusted God and they worshipped God.
It's not about trusting.
Well, what do you mean by believe God? It's ambiguous.
Did Noah, peace be upon him, did he tell those people around him to worship God and worship Him alone? did he tell the people that you are not supposed to worship idols, worship the creation, trees and monkeys and bananas, whatever? Did Noah, the prophet, peace be upon him, did he tell the people to worship God? Other than from other gods that people worship?
The biblical story of Noah does not tell us whether they were idol worshippers or whether what type of sin they were doing. So I can't tell you no unequivocally and like explicitly told them worship God alone, don't worship idols, because perhaps their crime was not idolatry, it could have been something else.
What was it?
The Bible does not clearly say.
Right, so Bible is very inadequate in terms of... Can I respond to your question?
I would tell you that what specific crimes the people of Noah were doing is irrelevant.
It's very relevant.
It is irrelevant.
Someone gets wiped away from existence and you're saying it's irrelevant to find out why.
No, hold on. Within the Christian faith, the wages of all sin is death. Okay?
So if you steal a lollipop, are you going to be killed by execution?
No, you will. No, it will result in your natural. The reason why.
No.
The reason
We're
why.
talking about crime and punishment.
The reason why we believe human beings die is because of sin. Sin.
Right.
So
you believe
our natural death.
Mary, did she die?
Is a result,
Mary, the mother of Christ.
Sin.
Mary, the mother of Christ. Did she die?
Yes.
For what sin was she dead for?
I have no idea.
But according to your understanding, she died because of sin.
Yes, but I don't know.
Sin. Did John the Baptist? Did Jesus die?
Yes.
What sin did he commit that he died?
But he took on our sins.
No. So you're saying it doesn't matter whether you are sinless or not. As long as someone else sins, you can take their sins and they can die. Is that justice?
Jesus as God and as the Messiah has a position of responsibility over his followers, and therefore it is just for a person of responsibility to take on the sins and the crimes of his subordinates.
So God the Father could take on the sins and die on the cross if he wanted to, right?
Potentially, but he did not.
Why not?
I don't know.
Okay, let me understand the scenario. Do you have children?
No.
Okay. Do you have a father?
Yes.
Good. So if you and your father are there, and you have the options to either your father sacrifice his own life to save others, or your father let you sacrifice your own life to save others, would you think your father would let you sacrifice your life? Would he give his life? I as a father, you as a father, you as a father, you as a father, we will sacrifice our own life, not our children, our life. So if you believe God is so loving, and he's a father God, my sincere question to you that I want an answer for, why did he not himself die on the cross rather than sending his son to be punished and beaten up in your belief, like he was crucified, tortured, maimed, and whatever? Why didn't the father take that punishment?
I would say that's a false equivalence you built there, because Jesus is not the Son of God in the same way your son is a son to you. Because you have to remember, yes, Jesus, whilst he's the Son of the Father, he's also identical to the Father by being God. He's not identical to the Father in terms of being in terms of person, but he is identical to the Father in terms of his being. So still the same being.
I don't understand what you mean.
The same being, the same being as the Father.
Same essence.
And I just speak, please. Mm-hmm. The same being as the Father sacrificed himself on the cross. So it's different from your...
So you're saying this is a different kind of father-son relationship. Actually, it's not a father and son. Okay, why don't you call him brother then?
No, because the Son of God came from the Father. So the Son of God is the word.
Isn't what happens to a human being? The son comes from the Father.
But hold on. It's not the same because your son is not identical to you, whereas Jesus is identical to the Father.
In what sense?
In terms of being, they are the same being.
Identical in knowledge?
And yes, identical. No, they are omniscience. Jesus as God, as omniscience. When he became man, he limited his access to omniscience.
Okay.
Hence he did not know the hour.
Let's understand identicalness, or being identical. So, is the Son in any way dependent on the Father for anything?
Yes.
Is the Father dependent on anyone for anything?
No.
So are they identical?
In their persons, no. They're not identical in terms of their persons.
Whether you call them person, whether you call them being, whether
I know.
Wait. The question is about being identical. One of them is dependent, the other one is not dependent. So they are not identical.
In terms of their persons, no. But in terms of their being, yes.
Wait.
I'm
In
clarifying.
terms of their nature of being God, are they identical in,
Yeah.
in their divinity?
Yes.
Good. The one who is divine, ultimate divine, is the being who is self-sufficient.
Prove that.
So you can have a God who is not self-sufficient, he's dependent on someone else for his life. That would be God, right?
Yes.
So you can have a God who is God because someone made him God.
Sorry?
So imagine God, the Father, says, I didn't have life myself. Someone else called Tom gave me life. I'm dependent on Tom to give me life. But I am almighty, I am independent, I'm self-sufficient.
But you also have to remember, this happened from all eternity. So because the Father and the Son, they exist beyond space and time, whilst the Son is begotten from the Father, this happens from all eternity. So yes, begotten from the Father, but from all eternity as well.
I don't understand what you're saying. I am saying,
Let me clarify.
the question I'm asking is, can you have a God who is not self-sufficient and still God?
Yes.
Okay. What does self-sufficiency mean?
You're not dependent upon anyone else.
Okay. So you can have a God who is actually dependent. So this tripod is dependent on its maker, but it still can be God Almighty.
That's not God Almighty because it doesn't have omniscience. It does not have
Wait.
omnipotence.
So if it's dependent, it could be God.
But it's not God because it doesn't have omniscience. It doesn't have omnipotence. It doesn't
What is the most perfect being ever could be? Someone who is self-sufficient or less than self-sufficient?
We would say God, the Son's dependence on the Father does not take away from his perfection.
I'm not talking about Son and Father. I'm talking about in general. If you have a God, one God is dependent, and another concept of God, like in Islam, is totally self-sufficient. Which one is a perfect description? Which one seems to be God, even by definition?
And I would tell you that self-sufficiency is not necessarily a characteristic of perfection.
Okay, so you can have a God, you can have a God who is self-sufficient, means he has his own life inherently, he has his own attributes of perfection inherently, he doesn't need anything or anyone, he's totally independent, totally absolute. And you have another God who has been given life.
From all eternity, from eternity.
Wait, given life. If he didn't have life, he would not even exist. Which one seems to be a perfect description of God?
We would say the latter because that happens from all eternity. So it's not just in a point in time the Son became God. The Son.
I'm not talking about Son. Don't you get it? I'm talking about.
You're talking about the Son's dependence on the Father.
No. I'm talking about a concept of God in which a concept says God is self-sufficient, and another concept says God is not self-sufficient. In fact, he needs to say, please, give me power so I can do something. Or please, give me knowledge so I can know something. Right? He's dependent on someone else, on something else. So you have that God, and you have a God who is all knowledgeable, all powerful, almighty, independent, absolute. No dependency, self-sufficient. You're saying the one who is the most perfect is the one who begs for.
Not begs.
Wait. Yeah, begs. He says, please.
He doesn't pray for.
I am giving you a concept in which. No, I'm giving you a concept in which he says, unless you give me life, I would not exist. And you have a God who exists by his necessity and necessary being. He is self-existing by necessity. So he is what we call the wahdatul wujud, or we call something else. No, he is the necessary existence. Yeah, the necessary existence. Everyone and everything relies on him. He doesn't rely on anything. So if you now have two concepts of God, you are saying as a Christian, the one who says, can I have life so I can be living? Can I have knowledge so I can be knowledgeable?
So
can I have power? I'm not talking about no. As a Christian thinker, a belief system, when you compare two belief systems about God, you would say the most perfect belief system about God, the one who seems like the most perfect being, is a being who is dependent.
In the terms of the Son, yes.
I'm not talking about the Son.
Yes,
I'm not talking about the daughter.
But the Son is dependent upon the Father.
I'm not talking about the Son or the daughter or the brother or the uncle. I'm talking about two concepts of God. independent and dependent God.
The Trinity has both.
I'm not talking about
The Trinity has both.
I'm talking about a concept of God in which a God is dependent and a God is independent. Which one is perfect?
Let me ask you something.
You can answer this first?
Let me ask. I've answered it several times. You're not taking the
Okay.
answer. So
Please. What was his answer?
Let me ask you a question.
You can, of course.
Yeah.
You will ask. What was his answer that I've something missed? You've answered it so many times, but I missed it. Shall I start with you? What was the answer? What was the answer?
No answer.
What was the answer?
Yeah, but they're all Muslims, so they're biased.
Now you're stereotyping Muslims as if these people don't have a brain.
It's a true stereotype. It's a true stereotype.
No. What are you saying now?
It's true, though. But it's true.
So that means if you were to say something, all the Christians will blindly agree with you, right?
They would agree with me more than you.
Blindly.
But I'm not saying they agree with you blindly.
One second.
I'm not saying they agree with you blindly.
1 second.
But
No.
It would be more.
If you were to,
they would have a greater propensity to agree with you.
If you-
with me, just like the Christian would have a greater propensity.
you didn't hear me out.
than you.
If I asked my Muslim brothers, and you likewise ask your Christian brothers and sisters, so you're saying they will all blindly agree with you.
They would agree with me over you. Blindness
forget about
is
me.
irrelevant. Blindness is irrelevant.
No,
It's a red
blindly.
herring. It's a red herring.
Knowing if
I
they
didn't say-
know-
I never said they were following you. I never said
I
they
am
were following
asking you to say and affirm to me.
So you're,
if
you are
even if
asking a question that has no relevance to the topic of discussion at hand.
listen, even if I was wrong, you assume my Muslim brothers would blindly agree with me, right?
No, I didn't ever say. I said they would follow you. I didn't say they would.
Blindly.
I didn't say blind. I said they have a bias to agree
Okay.
with you over me.
Right,
The same way
right.
the Christians have a bias to agree with me over you.
Blindly.
The fact is, I never said blind. You're putting words in my mouth. I'm saying.
So are they blindly agreeing with me?
Again, you're saying it's
Ask them.
That's
No. Okay.
That's our
What?
topic.
Are you blindly agreeing with me?
Just come on.
Are you blindly agreeing with me? Okay. Now, so
Why don't you ask some Christians? Why did you just ask Muslims? Why
why are they Christians?
we could just go to some Christians. Look, yeah, there's one there.
Did you hear our conversation?
No, yeah, but I heard it. He asked for a Christian. I am also Christian.
You're a Christian.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I ask you to compare two concepts of God,
Yeah.
in one concept, God is absolute, independent. He is not in any way, or any shape, any form dependent on someone else for his own existence, for his
Muslim,
own,
yeah.
for his own life, for his continuation of life, his power, his knowledge. So he is totally a necessary existence possessing all attributes of perfection.
Yeah.
And you have another concept of God
Yeah.
in which this God is dependent for his own existence on someone else to give him life.
Not someone else. According to the Trinity, it's not someone else.
Wait.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Trinity.
Go ahead.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Two concepts of God. I didn't identify which one is a Muslim, which one is a Hindu or a Christian. Two concepts. One concept in which God is all knowledgeable, everlasting,
Yeah.
no beginning, no end of his existence. He has life. No one gave him life. Another concept of God in which someone had to give him life for him even to exist. Yeah? Someone have to give him life to exist. Someone have to give him knowledge. Someone have to give him power. It's like, oh, please, can I have some power so I can do something?
I have a question,
Wait. Yes. Because you'll be asking the question. Oh, please, can I have some knowledge so I can do something and know something? Can I have some power so I can execute something? Totally dependent. So, which concept of God seems to be a perfect concept of God?
Yeah, this one of the reason you described Muslim, you described something I don't understand at all, but you didn't describe Christianity.
I'm not talking about Christianity.
No.
So, if you are understanding my English, what I just said,
For me, as a Christian, I believe in one God.
look, I'm not talking about Christianity.
Yeah.
I'm talking about God A and God B.
Yeah.
Independent and dependent. Which one is a perfect concept of God?
Independent.
Independent.
Yeah. Of course.
But here's my question now.
Okay, now, wait.
My question is going to build off.
Before you ask your question, do you agree with them?
Yes. Can I ask my question?
Before you ask, because you will ask your question because you wanted to ask. No problem. Remind me if I go in a different tangent. Is the question to ask next. You earlier said the perfect concept of God is a concept in which God is dependent.
Potentially, in terms of the sun, yes. I specifically said.
I didn't
the
talk
sun,
about sun.
But I said the sun.
I did not talk about
If
sun.
you want to get my view, I said in terms of the sun.
You're misrepresenting me. I never brought in Christianity. I talked about two concepts of God God in which they're diametrically opposed. One is dependent God and one is independent God. And you said the perfect God is a dependent God.
In terms of the Son.
Look.
I said both. I said the Trinity.
In my example.
I said the Trinity has both.
In my example.
I said the Trinity has both.
Okay. Do you have a problem in understanding my example? In my example, it's not about Trinity. It's not about Christianity. Do you follow so far?
Well, but
in my example, it is not about potatoes and bananas and Trinity and so on. It is about a God who is independent and a God who is dependent.
So,
everyone follow so far?
Wait. Let me clarify then. So your God is independent is not Allah then?
I am giving you a concept of God in principle to understand which one is a perfect concept of God.
No religious connotations. No religious connotation.
It is religious, but it's not. It's not.
Allah.
Listen, it's not linked to being Islamic God or a Judaic God and so on. It's just a God who is independent and God who is dependent.
Okay.
So, which one seems to be a perfect concept of God?
But both are independent.
I would say a God who could be both at the same time.
Yeah.
So
Isn't both independent?
That was my question. My question
no,
is
independent and dependent.
Mansur, here's my question. What would be better? A God who's independent but could not be dependent could not be dependent, or a God who is both independent and dependent at the same time? Which would be a better God?
Sure. Give me, I'm answering this question because I find Christians often don't understand logic at all. Logic goes down the drain.
It's like when the sun set in the mountain, according to the Quran.
Has nothing to do with logic.
No, but you attacked the Christians.
I didn't attack anything.
You said Christians don't understand logic. If you're going to attack,
I'll tell you why.
I have the right to now attack the premises of your holy book.
Fine, attack whatever, but it's nothing relevant to the discussion. So what I'm saying is this.
But then you'll be mistaken in specifically attacking Christians.
Let me tell you why, and you can then correct me if I'm mistaken, and I'm happy to be corrected. A God that exists and at the same time doesn't exist. A God that is all knowledgeable and at the same time ignorant. A God that is all powerful at the same time totally weak. A God that is loving and the God that is full of hate and vengeance and no love. You believe in a God. It's possible to have a God that exists and actually doesn't exist. A God that is 100% loving and a God that is 100% hateful. You believe in a God that is 100% all powerful and 100% all weak and no power. Is that what you believe in?
God's perfection would require he could be both at the same time.
So you're saying God's perfection means he can be existence, he has life, and he has no life.
God's perfection would require he could do those things at the same time.
So he has life and he has no life.
At the same time, that would be part of God's perfection.
So God is loving and not loving.
God could be that. God could be that.
Sure.
God has the capability of being at the same
so
time.
God can be existing and not existing at the same time.
Possibly, yeah.
God can be infinite and finite at the same time.
Possibly, as he was in Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Have you studied logic?
God is beyond God, but here's the thing. Your logic is for this this logic is for the three-dimensional world we live in. God exists beyond time and space, and hence he's not like in quantum mechanics. An electron can be multiple positions at the same time, and it can be multiple natures at the same time. That is a complete contradiction to logic, but doesn't mean it's not true.
You don't understand what logic is.
Because electron can have multiple natures at the same time, can be in multiple places at the same time. It totally defies logic.
What logic is it defying?
It's true because
logic is it defying?
Because it's beyond the three-dimensional world of time and space, as God is beyond the three-dimensional world.
What logic is it defying?
Sorry?
What logic is the position of the electron defying?
The way the electron behaves.
No. What logic is it defying? What are the rules of logic? Let's start by that. What are the rules of logic? Number one.
Electron is not bound by the laws of logic.
Wait. You gave an example, an analogy to demonstrate that electrons defy logic.
Yes, they defy
so now,
logic. Yes, they defy
what
logic.
are the rules of logic, and which one is it defying?
So you can't be A. So you can't be A and B at the same time. You can't be A and B at the same time. That is what the law of non-contradiction.
Try again.
The law of non-contradiction. The law of non-contradiction.
That's not A and B. It's like
what is it? Well,
it cannot be A and not A at the same time.
Sorry?
It cannot be A and not A at the same time.
That's what I meant to say. That's what I meant to say.
So, do Christians believe in that rule?
Sorry?
Do Christians believe in that rules of laws of non-contradiction?
Beyond time and space, yes. Beyond time and space, that does not apply.
Listen.
Beyond time and space, it does apply here. It applies here.
Do Christians believe in this rule?
In this world, yes. Beyond this world, no.
Okay, so they pick and choose whenever they want to use a rule.
Because reality picks and chooses. But as I said to you, by example from the quantum world, logic does not apply to natural phenomena.
So before this world was created, God could be existent and non-existent at the same time.
Potentially, yeah.
What does it mean?
I don't know. I don't pretend to understand God.
No. You understand existence?
Yes.
Right. What is non-existence?
I understand existence. I understand non-existence.
How can it be both?
I do not understand because I don't have pretension to understand things that are beyond our world of time and space.
It's nothing beyond. Ask anyone here. They will tell you. You cannot be in existence and not existent at the same time.
Can I ask you a question? Do you believe electrons can have multiple natures at once?
Look, electrons can, superpositions and so on.
And electrons can be multiple places at once.
Wait. What
electron can be multiple places at once.
What rule of logic is that defying?
Sorry?
What rule of logic is it defying?
So you cannot be A and not A at the same time.
So are we saying electron cannot be electron and not electron at the same time?
In terms of its position, yes. In terms of
No.
In terms of its position.
No, position means you can be there, it can be somewhere else, right? We're talking about can an electron be an electron and not electron at the same time? That will defy the rules of logic.
But can an electron have two mutually exclusive natures at once?
Such as?
Wave and light. Sorry, wave and particle.
No, the electron is both because it's not contradictory.
But they are.
How is it contradictory?
Because in our world, there's never been an example of something.
How is this contradictory?
Can I finish? In this world, the world we live in, something cannot be both wave and particle at the same time because the behaviours of wave and particle are mutually exclusive to one another. That's why.
How is it exclusive?
Sorry?
How is it exclusive?
So I don't pretend to be an expert, but what
you're the one making the claim. So substantiate your say I don't know and get rid of it.
No, I could explain, but I just couldn't explain with full eloquence. But I'll give you a go. Waves, they behave in a very spread out way. Particles are in a very pinpointed way. Okay, can't be pinpointed and spread out at the same time in this world of space and time. Beyond space and time, electrons are proved to act like that at the same time.
So again, beyond what?
Beyond space and time, electrons can act as a wave and a particle at the same time.
So let me hear what you just said. Beyond space and time, electrons can...
Okay, what I mean by simultaneously?
No, you said beyond space and time.
Yeah.
So what experiments did we do to understand the nature of an electron or a photon beyond space and time?
Okay, so there was a study in 2015, and that was monitoring the behavior of an electron, and they clearly captured it. They clearly captured images of it acting as both as a particle and a wave at the same time.
My question to you is, beyond space and time, can we devise any experiment in our world beyond space and time?
I don't know.
You do know. You do know.
No,
we cannot experiment anything beyond space and time because we are already in space and time.
Yes, the experiment, but the results we get from that experiment.
No, firstly, look. What's your name?
Khan. The observation.
Khan.
Yeah.
Khan.
The observations we would get.
Why don't you just?
Observations we would get from that.
No. Why don't you just admit that you don't know what you're talking about? Because you are saying, they have done experiments in 2000 something. Which year? 2015. In which
I'm not an expert. Did I say I was an expert?
You don't need to be an expert. But you don't remember even the year of
I did remember it. You didn't remember it, and you accused me of not remembering it.
Look, I am saying
what you're talking about.
Listen, Khan, you cannot devise an experiment beyond space and time while you're within it.
Again, I said I was agnostic because yes, of course, the experiment itself is conducted within space and time. The results you could get from that could potentially be beyond space and time, and hence part of the experiment involves phenomena beyond space and time.
Basic level, A-level physics will tell you what you're talking about is you've forgotten all about it.
I don't have to do A-level physics.
Okay, that's probably why, right? Even GCSE physics. You would have understood this experiment has nothing to do with beyond space and time. That's why you got mixed up. So let's come back again.
You tell me what happened. If you know, you tell me what happened.
I'm not the one bringing the example, you are. So if you don't know what you were talking about, then...
Hold on.
I'm just telling you.
your experiment. You premised to know what the experiment was.
Now, I'm
For
saying...
you to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about,
Khan.
for you to make that judgment,
Khan.
for you to make that judgment, you do know, to tell me what was that experiment on.
I am telling you, we cannot devise any experiment.
But the results could be beyond.
Listen, any experiment beyond space and time.
But the results could be beyond space and time, and that would be part of the experiment.
Now look how you're contradicting.
No, I'm saying,
Do you realize how you're contradicting?
Are the results part?
You are now saying we can extrapolate result from this world beyond space and time. But when it comes to God, we cannot.
Say that again.
Good. You are now contradicting and saying we can extrapolate a result based on the space and time with our logic and our scientific paradigms, and we can extrapolate to the realms beyond space and time. We can do that. That's what you're now claiming and asserting, and that's what you're propagating. If that's the case, then you can easily say, yes, beyond space and time, I would know how God is, whether God can be existent or non-existent at the same time or not.
I said yes, God could be. I did answer that quite clearly. God can be existent and non-existent. What I didn't say was I don't understand how God can be existent and non-existent.
Okay.
In the same way,
What is non-existence?
you're not there. You're not. Yeah, you don't exist.
So once God becomes non-existence, is he there?
Beyond our space and time.
But use your common sense, Khan.
No, common sense does not apply to the world beyond space and time.
Doesn't apply.
Of course
Who
it
told you
doesn't.
that?
A basic reading of quantum mechanics.
Oh, you study quantum mechanics.
A basic reading.
That's the problem. Basic reading is the problem.
No. Also,
A little learning is a very dangerous thing.
Hello, I'm speaking to you. Quantum. No, don't interrupt. Quantum physics.
Why are you triggered?
Quantum physics. You're being rude.
How am I being rude?
Can I just? Well, that's another. You're interrupting. Can I?
Now, how am I being rude?
You're interrupting.
Interruption is not rude. Interruption is to tell you that you're just speaking and waffling.
Your quantum physicists will tell you we don't understand the quantum world. That's what they say. So if they don't
Understand about what?
They don't understand they don't understand the workings
Why?
of the quantum. It doesn't matter why they don't.
Do you need to know what? Shall I tell you why?
But they don't. So if they,
Shall I tell you why?
If they don't, and yet it's true, something could be true.
Shall I tell you why they don't understand?
Something could be true without you knowing how it's true.
Khan, if you bothered to read a little bit more than basic quantum mechanics, you'll realize this is a new field of science in which we are learning. We're developing our knowledge. That's why people don't know many things about it yet. So you cannot impose an ignorance.
No, that's not why. That's not why. It's because it defies the laws of logic. That's why.
Which quantum mechanic expert says that thing that you just saying?
Obvious.
No,
Obvious.
you're using common sense now. Obvious means you're using common sense.
You made the original claim. The reason why we don't understand things is because it's a new field. You tell me scientists who have said that.
I am not the one making claims.
You did make that
What claim did I make?
You made the claim quantum scientists don't understand quantum mechanics is because it's a new field.
Yes.
Where
Shall I-
are the scientists?
Yeah. Do you want to go to any book, any library and pick up any book, and they will tell you how much we know about quantum
I'm
mechanics?
asking you.
I'm just telling you. This is the discipline of quantum mechanics. If you open up any book, like you said, basic.
Which book? Tell me, give me a book.
Okay, quantum mechanics, any book.
That actually has that quote. That actually has what
No,
you said.
not quote.
No,
Understanding of it.
you're talking without evidence. That's why you're talking.
Okay, you know what? I take back. Actually, they know everything.
I didn't say. Why are you saying they know everything now?
Oh, they don't know everything.
Hold on.
Oh, they don't know everything. The reason they don't know everything is because you don't know.
No, they're finite people.
They're finite people. Fine. So can the Bible be true and not true at the same time?
The Bible is true by its faith and morals.
You don't understand my question? What part of my question was it difficult to understand?
The Bible exists in our space and time, so yes, it couldn't be true and false at the same time. It couldn't be true.
Sorry?
It could not be true and false at the same time because the Bible exists within our world of space and time.
So the Bible is the words of God, right?
They are the inspired words of God.
Okay. The Ten Commandments, were they inspired words of God or direct words of God?
Dictated.
Dictated, direct words of God. It could be true and not true at the same time.
But they were revealed within our world of space and time.
Before it was revealed, the speech of God can be true and not true at the same time.
Well, beyond time and space,
Yes.
the speech of God could be true, could potentially, could theoretically, hypothetically be true and false at the same time.
Okay, let's understand that. Very good, you make
But
it.
I don't think true and false.
Wait.
I don't
Not
think,
this world.
I don't think the dichotomy of true and false
Not this world.
necessarily apply in the world beyond
Wait.
the time.
Beyond the world, our created world, the speech of God, when God speaks, it could be true and it could be false at the same time.
God's speech is true, but if he wanted to make it false as well, he has that capability.
No. God's speech could be true and false at the same time.
God's speech is true. If he wanted to make it false, he could have.
Why are you not dealing with what I'm asking?
I'm asking you. He said yes, but it is true. God's speech is true. God's speech is true.
You said the law of non-contradiction, the principle of non-contradiction applies in this world. It doesn't or may not apply beyond this world, in the world of God's reality. So in the world of God's reality, before anything of the creation, God's speech can be true and false at the same time.
Hypothetically, yes.
Yeah. What does it mean?
Hypothetically, I don't know.
What does it mean a false statement?
Sorry? A false statement, something that's not true.
Can God speak false statements?
God does not speak false statements, but God could, if God, it's within God's capability.
Wait. Before the world was created, you believe God can speak untrue, false statements.
Hypothetically, but we don't believe God utters false statements.
God can speak, and that speech can be true and not true or false at the same time. Hypothetically.
Hypothetically. Like, wouldn't you be the same about Allah?
No.
So Allah...
God is the source of truth, all times.
I totally agree with you, but if you're saying Allah cannot speak a falsehood, what you've just said, you've limited the power of Allah.
No, I haven't. I'll
Yes,
tell you
you
what.
have.
Let me
Yes, you
tell you.
have. Yes,
Let
you
me
have.
tell.
Yes, you have.
Let me tell you, Khan.
You said, let me clarify. Saying Allah would not utter a false statement is different from saying Allah could not utter a false statement.
I'll tell you why.
I'm happy for you to say Allah would not utter a false statement.
Let me tell you why.
The problem is Allah cannot utter.
Right. So you believe God can lie if he wanted to. Yeah?
But then,
So the Bible could be all. So hypothetically, the Bible could be all false. It would be all lie, right? Hypothetically.
no, because by God's action, you're
Wait.
You're conflating hypothetical.
Wait.
You're conflating a hypothetical scenario. which
Because
actually works in practical
because
reality.
God, in your belief, he could lie. So he could have lied.
Hypothetically, it doesn't work in practical reality.
So God doesn't lie in reality.
God does not lie in reality.
So if God doesn't lie in reality, then what's the point of hypothetically saying he can lie?
Because you're asking me these questions, that's all.
No. Because you're saying it's impossible for God to do anything in practice which is untrue.
Sorry?
Is it possible or impossible for God to lie?
It is hypothetically possible for God to lie.
So God could possibly, hypothetically, he could have done it already, right?
Sorry?
He could have already lied.
Hypothetically.
Yeah. So he could have already lied about what's in the Bible.
But God has not lied.
How do you know?
Sorry?
How do you know?
believe that God can do it?
Because everything we know about everything we know about the testimonies of the Bible is as has been shown to be true. Like prophecies, for example, the state of Israel, as prophesied within Jeremiah and Isaiah, has come to be true. The fact God in Genesis, when God said within the seed of Jacob will come the blessings throughout the whole world, that has proven to be true. The fact God prophesied the Messiah in Isaiah 53 and Psalm 22 that came to be true. The fact within multiple passages within the Psalm and Isaiah said the worship of the Lord will fill all the earth. That prophecy will come true. Hence we have trust in the Lord. That's why. But
So hypothetically, God can be non-God at the same time. Or he can become, in fact, let me try to understand your concept of God. God, if he so wanted to, hypothetically, he can cease to exist in your belief.
Sorry? Hypothetically.
He can cease to exist.
And it was existing at the same time.
No, he can cease to exist.
Was existing at the same time.
No. God can cease to exist in your belief,
Within
hypothetically.
his omnipotence, yes. Within his omnipotence.
So when he ceases to exist, he's no longer there.
Sorry? Within his omnipotence, God is capable of doing all things.
So God can cease to exist and become not God. Okay.
God's omnipotence means omnipotence.
So that means
Omnipotence
God
omnipotence.
has so power.
But why is it so
In your-
hypothetical?
Look.
Can I get to
Hypothetically, can't.
After I ask a practical question about Islam? Because you're asking a complete hypothetical.
Because your religion doesn't make any sense
No,
to me.
you can't say religion is nonsensical by making hypothetical scenarios. I can't say, I can't accuse you.
Did I say hypothetically? You said hypothetically.
I can't accuse you of being a murdering rapist on basis on the hypothetical possibility of you being a murderer and a rapist. That's what you're doing. With my faith. You're saying yes, hypothetically it could be the case. Therefore, it is the case. And hence it doesn't make sense.
Let me clarify that point. Let me clarify that point. In your understanding of God, he can become God, non-God.
Sorry?
He can become non-God.
Hypothetically.
What does it mean?
In theory, yes. In practice,
No.
not.
What does it mean in theory? Is it?
In an abstract.
Can he do that if he wanted to?
Yes. Omnipotent. God is omnipotent.
Understand that. If he wanted to. So if he wanted to, he could have just ceased to exist.
Omnipotence.
1 second. If God so wants to, he could cease to exist.
Why is omnipotence? Yes. Why is omnipotence?
Was he everlasting to begin with?
Yes.
Can he go against his nature of everlasting?
He will not.
Does he have the power and choice and the will to go against his nature of being everlasting?
Yes.
And what does everlasting mean?
Eternal.
So how can he go against what is against his nature?
No, because he's not at the same time omnipotent. He's not the same all powerful, and all powerful means you can do whatever is theoretically possible.
That contradicts his nature.
Can I ask you a question? Okay, I want to ask you a practical question. You said earlier, God is the source of truth.
Yeah.
God does not lie. God cannot lie. Explain to me.
No, I didn't say God cannot lie. I never used the word can and cannot. You did.
Hold on.
You didn't ask me what I believe about God.
I did ask you. It is different to say Allah would not lie than saying Allah cannot lie. Okay, you agreed with the same.
I didn't agree with anything.
Well,
I only talked about your belief about God. Why don't you ask me now?
I heard you.
No, ask me now.
Right.
You misheard.
Do you believe God can lie?
Okay, I'll tell you why this question is not appropriate in our Islamic concept of God. Why? Because we don't apply can and cannot to God's sovereignty.
But you did to me, so I can do it to you.
No.
But you did it to me.
The reason why
let me do it to you.
did you say like this is not applicable to my concept of God? You didn't.
Practically, it's not. Practically, I said practically it's not. Hypothetically,
In my concept of God, God has a certain nature. He doesn't go against his nature because that's who he is.
Okay, that's fine.
Wait. You're asking me. So the nature of God, he is the source of all truth. He's the truth. He is al-haq. He is the truth.
That's fine.
So by asking, can he be not true, is a nonsensical question. I'll tell you why. A question, to be a question, must have two essential properties. It must have potential answers, and it should not have inherent internal contradictions. For example, I'm just telling you what perhaps you didn't know. Okay?
I disagree.
I'll tell you. If I ask you now, how many legs does a sun walk upon? 2 or 3?
It's a question, but it's a nonsensical question. But you still ask the question. So
now you agree with me.
You still ask the question. You still ask.
Wait.
It is a question. It is a question. It's a question.
Let me check the camera.
It's a question.
Can you tell me, was this question nonsensical? That's why it's not a question, it's a rhetorical statement?
No, it's a nonsensical question. That's a question.
No, it's not a question.
It is a question.
Okay, so did it...
You want to know?
Did it qualify my two...
But I don't agree with those two premises in the first place. I don't agree with those two premises.
What you agree
I don't agree with it. I don't agree.
What is your definition of a question?
A question is a statement where you are inquiring or wanting to know with the intention of wanting to know further knowledge, to expand your knowledge. That is a question to me. That's why I've always deemed that to be a question.
That's what the problem is.
There are sensible questions. I see no reason to accept your premise. I don't know where you got your premises from.
And that's why you are happy to believe in something which is nonsensical.
No.
The reason why you don't even know what a question is, you don't even know what logic is.
I don't know. Excuse me. You did not show any evidence those two components
I will tell you.
actually make up a question.
I will tell you.
You will cite me authority.
I will tell you.
You will cite me authority.
I don't need to cite your authority because a question, if I say today is banana, am I asking a question?
No, because you are not saying that statement with the intention of wanting to know further knowledge.
Today's banana?
It's a nonsensical question.
It's not. It's not.
Listen, a question must have potential answers. Number one.
I disagree.
Because that's the definition of a question. If a
No,
question doesn't have any
but-
potential answer, then why even ask?
Because you could ask for no reason. You could ask for no reason.
No. If it doesn't have any potential answer, it cannot be a question. By definition,
I disagree.
a question must have potential answers.
I disagree. I disagree. I disagree.
Okay, fine, disagree.
I disagree.
No problem. The reason why, when you ask me a question, because in my understanding of what a question is, it's not a question, because it violates the inherent properties or attributes of what you're affirming already. So when you say, can God lie? Because the concept of my God, our God is always truthful. He's al-haq. He is the truth, source of all truth. So you cannot then contradict that and say, while he's all truth, can he be not all truth? It's nonsense. It's like, God is knowledgeable, can he be not knowledgeable? Nonsense. Because you affirm God is all knowledgeable, you have to reject the opposite. If you affirm something, you have to reject the opposite. If I affirm you are innocent fully, I have to reject the opposite, that is, you are guilty fully. That is what it means. So as a Muslim, as you realize, our concept of God, our belief system is coherent, sensible, reasonable, logical, and your Trinitarian concept of God and your belief of Christianity is something that is demonstrated to be nonsensical, unreasonable, illogical, something that is not even appealing to the heart and mind.
Your definition, like Muhammad's marriage of Aisha,
irrelevant.
But let me ask, your two components of a question, can you show that from the Quran and the Sunnah? Because I asked you a theological question about your theology. Can you show me from Islamic theology?
I don't need to.
Well then, if
you don't agree, no more problem. Look, Khan, if you don't agree, no problem.
Fine, we'll move on. Let me ask you another question.
No, before you ask any question.
We don't agree on a different question.
Wait. You can. But most important question we should settle is this: who is worthy of worship?
Sorry?
Who is worthy of worship?
Can we move on?
No.
That's not relevant. Why is that relevant? Tell me what.
The most important question.
I understand. Why is that relevant to this discussion?
If you worship a rat, why is that relevant? I will tell you. If you worship a rat instead of what you worship as the Christians tell you to worship, or what you think you should be worshiping, if you worship a rat with all your heart, with all your mind, and disbelieving in Christ and Yahweh and the Holy Spirit, would you go to heaven?
Explain to me how that's relevant to that question, and I'll answer you.
I'll tell you. The most important thing for us in this life is to fulfill the obligation why we're created.
That's fine.
And that.
But how's that relevant to this discussion?
I have only one discussion about how we can be saved from hellfire. So, who is worthy of worship? A rat?
Yahweh, God.
Okay.
But it's not relevant to discussion, but I'll answer.
Okay.
God.
And what is his properties? Which properties of God that makes him worthy of worship?
God is omnipotent, God is omniscient, and God is...
Omniscient means what?
All knowing.
All the time?
Yes.
Including fractions of a second?
Sorry?
Including a fraction of a second?
Yes.
All the time?
Yes.
Past, present, and future, all the time?
Yeah.
Okay. Which is that God? How many gods do you believe in?
One.
And who is that?
What? The God of Israel, God Yahweh.
Yahweh.
The one who created all that.
Fine. And who is Jesus in relation to Yahweh, that one God?
Jesus was the God-man.
No. Who is Jesus in relation to this one God?
Identical.
When two things are identical, are they the same or different?
Same.
So Jesus is Yahweh.
Yes.
Right. So Jesus is omniscient.
In his divine nature, yes. He limited his access. He limited.
Slowly.
He limited his access to his omniscience when he became man. Still had the omniscience without having access to the omniscience.
Can God limit access to his life for 30 minutes?
Sorry?
Can God, in your belief, limit access to his life for 30 minutes?
In his human nature, God...
No, not in his divine nature.
Sorry?
Not human nature. In his divine nature.
Well, I'm going to say it's a nonsensical question.
Why is it nonsensical?
Sorry, it's a question, but it's nonsensical
Why is it nonsensical?
because it has no effect on practical reality.
No. Why?
There's no practical effect.
Does it make sense to say God's life should be continuous without a 30-minute break?
Sorry.
God's life,
Yeah.
the life God has,
Yeah.
his existence, should be continuous living, ever living, rather than a 30-minute break in which he's not living.
That idea is nonsensical.
Good.
If you ask that, you'd ask the question.
So the idea of God having not access to his essential properties or attributes is nonsensical.
God, so practically speaking,
Not practical speaking.
In terms of actual reality, yes. In terms of actual reality, yes. Obviously, hypothetically,
Not hypothetically.
powerful.
Not hypothetically. God, because he's omniscient, he should have access to his knowledge all the time. Not for 3 years he didn't have access to his knowledge. That's nonsensical. The reason why it's nonsensical because you affirm already he knows, including that 3 years of time. So by then rejecting after affirming is nonsensical. That's being very childish rather. Once you affirm God knows every moment of time, including 2,000 years ago, the 3 years of that. And then you say, no, God knows everything, but he doesn't know this. Then how does he know everything?
But you are conflating God the Son's pre-incarnate nature when he was not man, when he did become man. Remember, I did say God. It's hypothetically possible for God to be infinite and finite at the same time.
Is it practically possible?
In Jesus Christ, as I said earlier, yes, it is.
So it's not about hypothetics anymore then?
Practically.
Wait.
In this one case.
No. Slow down.
In this one.
We got you now.
In this one place. That's all you're interested. So you're always.
We understand you.
interested in
Got you
winning.
means understood
and
you.
I got you by your intention. You're just here to win.
Good.
You're just here to
I
win.
understood you,
You're
Khan,
just
is
here
that.
to win.
I understood you that. God, in practical terms, can become non-God. It's no longer hypothetics.
Yeah.
You just said so. God, at
No.
one time, he became non-God.
No.
He was all-knowledgeable, became less than all-knowledgeable.
No. You're
What have I missed?
You're misunderstanding.
What have I missed?
Jesus Christ was fully God and fully man at the same time. His becoming fully man meant he had to limit.
Forget about manhood. Forget about man. Talk about the God side.
Meant he had to limit access to that omniscience without losing that omniscience.
Listen, the man,
In the same way, you could know things without knowing you know. Like you've forgotten things and then remembered them at a later point in time. So the knowledge was within you, but there was a certain time where you did not have access to the knowledge. The same way Jesus had the omniscience, but when he became man, he did not have access to the omniscience.
I'm not talking about man. I'm talking about the God part.
But Jesus is fully man, fully God, and they exist
As-
in union.
as a God-
You have to talk about it. To understand Jesus properly,
Look,
you have to
he's a man God, right?
Yeah, he's God man. You have to understand
Good.
Jesus properly. You have to know him as
Good.
God and man
Good.
at the same time.
As a God and man, through his God aspect, he knew everything.
Yes.
And he was not ignorant.
Yeah.
So he knew everything.
Yeah.
But on the man part, he was ignorant.
Man part means he had limited access to omniscience.
Since when man was ever all-knowledgeable?
Sorry?
Since when man was
In
all-knowledgeable?
Jesus Christ, because Jesus' status as a man existed in union and his state as God.
Look. Is Jesus as a man God now in heaven?
Sorry?
Is Jesus a man God in heaven now?
God, he's God, but he's the right hand of the Father.
Is he a man God now?
God man at the right hand of the Father.
God man. Does he know everything or does he not know everything?
Sorry?
Does he still not know everything or does he not know everything because of a man part?
God is omniscient.
No. Jesus, the man God,
Okay.
in heaven now, is there something that he still doesn't know because he's a man as well?
I don't know. No.
But according to what you just said so far, because of a man,
But hold on. His nature as God knows everything. His nature as man, being he has limited access to the omniscience. How that works out in heaven, I don't.
okay,
I don't
so in heaven you can be all knowledgeable. Potentially, you can be all knowledgeable. Are you saying Jesus as a man can be all knowledgeable?
God, Jesus does know all things. But Peter told Jesus,
No,
you
man
know
as a man.
you know all things.
Okay. You didn't clarify one thing.
Yeah.
If God has...
No,
you'll ask.
Yeah.
You can believe
Yeah.
that God can have a temporary amnesia type thing where he have no access to himself, who he is. Imagine God...
But it's man.
Wait.
Men forget.
Wait. God the Father, not hypothetically, in practically, he can just have 15 minutes of moments in which he doesn't know who he is, right?
Hypothetically.
No, practically.
Sorry?
Practically. It's
As
no
a
longer
man.
hypothetical anymore.
As a man.
No, not as a man. As a divine being,
Jesus.
not Jesus, God the Father.
God the Father.
Can he, for 15 minutes, not have access to who he is, and he's just wondering, who are these two other beings floating around or talking, whatever? Can he have this temporary amnesia in which he doesn't know who he is for 15 minutes? The Father.
God the Father. Nonsensical question.
God the Father.
Nonsensical question.
Why is it nonsensical?
Because God the Father didn't become man and did not limit his omniscience.
Temporary access. Have you read Philippians?
Sorry?
Have you read Philippians?
Yes. Have I memorized it? No. Have I memorized it? No.
No. In Philippians it says, who is limiting himself?
Sorry?
Is the man limiting? Have you heard of a word called kenosis?
The son.
Do you know about kenosis? Kenotic theory.
I know it. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in it.
What is kenosis all about?
I'm not going to be an expert. I'm not going
I'm not talking about being expert.
I don't know.
Your basic lay Christian reading, it's never. This is. Look, let me tell you something.
Can I talk about Philippians? That's actually in the Bible.
Let me tell you something what I know.
Was equal to the Father.
Let me tell you.
And then limited himself.
No, son as man or son as God?
Sorry?
Son as the divine or son as the human limiting himself?
God limited himself by becoming man.
Remember. Either the divine is being limited, or the human, which is already limited, is being limited.
The human, by default, is limited.
Exactly. So it doesn't make any sense where Philippians says he was in the very nature like God, but he humbled himself and made himself nothing. So we, not me, your Christian scholarship say it's the God, the Son, who is divine, he limited his divinity, not the humanity. No, not humanity. The humanity is already limited.
His humanity exists in union.
You miss
with the
my
divinity.
point. The human aspect of Jesus is already limited.
And that limit,
No.
the God aspect of Jesus.
Philippians is not talking about the human Jesus. Philippians, according to your scholarship.
But Philippians is saying the reason why God became limited was by virtue of being fully man at the same time.
Philippians is saying, as your scholars understood it, the divine second member of the Trinity, Logos, the Christ, the second member of the Trinity, became limited in divinity.
Yes.
No.
In divinity.
You are misrepresenting your belief again and again and again. If you,
Man is limited.
I'm telling you, your Christian scholarship for the last 2,000 years have been telling people, you somehow misrepresent your own belief, that it is not the human that got limited, because the human wasn't there in heaven. The human is something that is now fashioned.
The second person of the Trinity limited.
That is divine or human?
I'll speak without interruption. Limited his access to his attribute by taking on a human nature.
Before he took in a human nature, the second member of the Trinity is a divine nature. That's what you believe.
Yes.
So what happened is the divine nature got limited. The divine nature got restricted.
Fully man, fully man.
Yeah, because he took in a human nature. So now you're saying in practical terms, no longer hypothetical, the divine can have no access to his divine nature for 3 years.
God chose not to have access.
You are saying,
The second person of the
can God the Father, in practical terms, choose, just like he did through the second person, to suddenly become unaware of who he is?
God the Father, if he became incarnate, would also
Not incarnate.
if God the Father,
Practically.
if God the Father became incarnate, God the Father would also limit his access to his divine attributes by being fully a man as well.
So if he has a choice before he became a human and says, you know what, I want to be a human, not knowing who am I, when the moment I'm still a human. So he becomes a human, and now he doesn't have access to his divine nature of who he is. It's possible, practically, yeah? So God is walking, and he doesn't even know that he was actually God.
God, that has not happened. We would say
It's possible.
Hold on. God, well, anything is possible for God, but God.
That's what you believe. Sensible people don't believe in that.
Hold on. God's choosing. Sensible people don't believe the greatest man ever lived have sex with a 9-year-old. But anyway,
Slow down. Slow down. No. Wait.
God,
Khan.
God the Father.
Stop.
When God the Father.
Stop, Khan.
If God
I'm
the
not
Father,
listening. I'm not listening.
If God the Father
I am not listening.
became a man.
Don't waffle. I'm not listening.
If God the Father,
You're having a monologue.
If God
Okay.
the Father became a man, yes, his
I'm not listening. He's talking.
access to his attributes will be
Do you see
limited,
this?
but not to the access where he wouldn't know he was God.
Okay. So whatever you said, who knows what you said, right? Because
They would.
But I'm speaking to you. But I wasn't listening to you. As I said, I wasn't listening to
You
you.
have to. I'm not saying you'd have to.
Every time you wanted to make a response out of your confusion, out of your irrationality, illogical thing that you believe in, you bring in, the Prophet married a 9-year-old, or Prophet is this, and so on and so forth. Pathetic.
No,
Pathetic.
it's not pathetic.
Look, I'll tell you.
Start to be attacked.
I haven't attacked you.
No, you were.
I am clarifying to you.
You attacked me, and that's why I didn't attack you. If you notice, Muslim apologists have to understand. If you're going to attack my faith, you give us liberty to attack your faith back.
Sure.
That doesn't refute your attack. Your attack could still, in theory, be correct, but you give us liberty to attack your faith back. That's what I want you to understand. I didn't attack you, did I? I attacked your faith.
I'm talking about how can you believe in a God who becomes unaware of who he is, if he chose to, and compared to as a response, you married a 9-year-old. Wow.
No.
Such
Hold on.
Wait.
You did not answer me sensibly.
Listen.
You was attacking my. You was attacking
perception.
You was
That's how
attacking
you
my.
perceived it.
You was
He
attacking
wasn't
my
doing it.
beliefs, and therefore I
Khan.
attacked your beliefs. That wasn't to refute. That was not to refute your belief. I didn't use to refute your beliefs.
Khan.
Your contention could still be true, but if you are going to